that Jesus was in fact, that Jesus, Alec Taffing, is in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, Yeah, Alec Taff 853. So 853 is kind of like initial of Jesus, even in the chapter 1, verse 1 of the Genesis. So let's read some more, about the pretext, the pretext, the one that they somehow not connecting. They might have covered in the other Torah portion, but the way it divided, so the detail were not connected. In the chapter 29. So I'm going to read the first 8 verses that they ignored in this Torah portion. These are the words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moses called unto all Israel and said unto them, You have seen all that the Lord did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh and unto all his servants and unto all his land. The great temptation which my eyes have seen, the signs and those are great miracles. Yet the Lord hath not given you an heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes are not waxen old upon you, and thy shoes is not waxen old upon thy foot. You have not eaten bread, neither have you drunk wine of strong drink, that you might know that I am the Lord your God. And when you come into this place, Sihon the king of Heshbon and Og the king of Bashan came out against us into battle, and we smote them. And we took their land and gave it for an inheritance unto the Reubenites and to the Gadites and to the half tribe of Manasseh. So, well, these 8 verses will not, read, alongside with the Torah portion they're covering this weekend. Well, is there anything I'm missing? Well, yeah, I think so. I think so. I think, particularly from the middle, from verse 3 to 6, very interesting, because it's basically, it's kind of like a recap about the short history. They came out of Egypt, and so God, the Lord, make them victorious over the Egyptians. And then, and it's also sandwiched by, near the end of the 40 years, they are also victorious over the Heshbon, the Bashan, and and then also took the land. So in other words, it's God that make them victorious. It's not the Jews themselves, it's the God of Israel that make them victorious. And then it's described as that there were great temptations, and there were signs and miracles, great miracles. I mean that there's no question about it. That at the beginning, at the end of the 40 years, there were so many amazing things, supernatural things. Every day was a miracle. Every day is that they have food and they have water in the wilderness, and every day. But in spite of all these miracles, supernatural things that happen, verse 4 is very striking. Yet the Lord had not given you an heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day. Yet the Lord have not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day. Well, what's that mean? It means that, on the outside, they follow God, the Lord. And God, the Lord, also honor them and lead them from victory to victory. But apparently, the Lord did not give them the understanding, the heart to perceive, the eyes to see, and the ear to hear until this day. In other words, yeah, they might have seen all those supernatural things and miracles, but they did not receive it on the inside. They did not get the understanding. And it's the law student also. So, well, I mean, in their daily life, they went through the 40 years in the wilderness, and the clothing did not get old, did not get worn out, and their shoes also will last 40 years, which is all by itself also amazing. So in other words, yeah, the clothing and the shoes, and it's kind of like Jesus told them everything that they need would be provided for. So Solomon's clothing is just like that. It's supernatural. And so apparently everything around them in their daily life and also in their in their warfare, in their the affairs with other countries, they were successful. They were miracle. They were signs, and it's supernatural because God will make all things successful for them. But the trouble is they did not have the understanding. They did not have the heart to perceive and eyes to see and ears to hear. So that already is a pretext. It's a pretext, like in the future, why they would fail. They would fail, under the old covenant, they would fail. Yeah. In fact, if you think about it, apparently this is kind of like a connection to chapter 28. 28, 27, we already found out, the Moses law come with both blessing and curse, Moses law, blessing and curse. So, the Old Testament, full of curse, and curse is more, have more verses than the blessing. That's the way of Moses, And so chapter 28, it was like, blessing and curse, but mostly curse.